Hi guys, in this video I'm going to talk about weight initialization in neural networks. So when you instantiate neural networks, the weights are usually set to some random numbers according to some scheme. And you might wonder, why is it so? If you remember, in a previous video where we built a neural network from scratch only using NumPy, I initialized the weights to be from a random normal distribution. So you might wonder, why did we do that? So in this video, I'm going to talk about what not to do. So for example, a naive approach might say, let's just start all the weights to be 0, or maybe let's start all the weights to be 1 or some other constant. Why do we need to sample them randomly from some random distribution? Well, let's see what's the problem with that. If we set all the weights to 0, this is very problematic. It's problematic for different reasons depending on the activation functions. So for example, if you have a ReLU activation function or a TANH activation or any activation where the activation of 0 is equal to 0, let's see what happens. Well, if all the weights are 0, then the inputs to all the layers, the inputs to all the neurons will also be 0, right? Because this is the equation that sets the inputs. We denoted the inputs by Z. They're just the previous layer activations times the weights plus the bias. Okay, but if this is 0, if W is 0, and if B is 0, then this is all equal to 0. Now, if the inputs are 0, then the activations themselves are also 0. So ReLU of 0 is equal to the TANH of 0 is equal to 0. So all the outputs will also be 0. Okay, so now let's look at the gradient. Suppose that this is our neural network, a small neural network with only one hidden layer. And this is our W2 matrix. It's just the weights. In this case, it will be a vector of W21, W22, and W23, the weights that connect this neuron, and this neuron. And we saw previously in the backpropagation algorithm video that the derivative of with regards to W2 using the chain rule is equal to the derivative of A2, this activation, and the derivative of A2 with regards to Z2, and the derivative of Z2 with regards to W2. Now, the derivative of A2 with regards to Z2, it will just be a vector of 1. In this case, a vector of 3 or 1. Why? Because the derivative of these activations, both the ReLU and the TANH, well, the derivative of ReLU, if it's above 0, above or equal to 0, is just x dash, which is just 1. So it's a constant derivative. And for TANH, the derivative is 1 minus TANH squared. And when you plug in 0, this is equal to 1. So this will be a vector of 1, in this case, a vector of 3. But all of this is equal to this thing over here. And the derivative of Z with regards to W is just A. So the previous layer output, we just said that all the outputs will be 0. This will be a vector of zeros. And so this whole thing will be equal to 0. So the gradient with regards to W2 will be equal to 0. And once we take a step in the direction of the gradient, so once we take a gradient descent, there won't be any move. We will stay in the same place with regards to W2. W2 won't change, so there will be no learning happening. Okay, there are two small exceptions. The last layer bias term will still be able to learn, because when we take the derivative with regards to it, it will be just 1, or if there's multiple output, it will be a vector of 1, but there will be some learning happening there. And also, if we only have one layer neural network without a hidden layer, then the derivative with regards to the weights won't be the activations, it will be the inputs themselves, the x's, and they won't be zeros. So here there will also be some learning. Okay, what happens with a sigmoid? So this was for the ReLU in TANH. What happens for the sigmoid? Well, the sigmoid activation of 0 will be 0.5. So inputs are still 0 because we are multiplying all the last activations already output by 0. And so the inputs to the neurons will be 0, but the activation of the sigmoid of 0 will be 0.5. So this will be replaced instead of a 0 with a vector of 0.5. The derivative of a sigmoid is just the sigmoid times 1 minus the sigmoid. So that's 0.5 times 0.5, which is 0.25. This is a element-wise product. We're getting that the result will be a vector of 0.125. But the problem here is that this is a scalar, and this is a vector with equal elements. So when we do the update, when we do the gradient descent, W2 will move in the same direction. So it won't be able to have different elements. We will all all the elements in this vector will move to the same place. So this is a very harsh restriction. The optimal W2 is probably not going to have all of its elements equal. So this is the problem with sigmoid, and this is a very similar problem. In fact, it will be exactly what will happen if we don't initialize the weights to 0, but instead initialize them to some other constant. So suppose we're initializing everything to 1. Well, the inputs to each layer will just be the sum over the outputs of the last layer plus 1. Okay, if we look at a single element of the next layer, it will just be the sum over all the inputs in the last layer plus 1. Okay, so the inputs are the same. This is true for all layers. So the inputs here will be the same as the inputs here will be the same as the inputs here. And if we had more layers, then the inputs here will be all the same as the inputs here as the inputs here. So we'll denote them just by z of l. We won't keep track of each of them. Z of l is just the scalar value of all the inputs in the vector of inputs. So now if all the inputs are the same, all the outputs are the same as well. For example, in ReLU, all the inputs will be above 0, then we'll just get the inputs themselves. If all the inputs will be below 0, then we'll just get zeros. But the outputs will be the same, so we'll do the same and we'll denote by a of l the scalar value of all the outputs value. And so here we will have something very similar. For example, in ReLU, if we suppose that we are above 0, then this will be the vector of gradients. And so this is equal to the outputs of the first layer. We just said that all the outputs have the same value, so it's equal to this. And again, we have the same problem like here with the sigmoid. The weights move exactly in the same direction. So we will have that all the elements in the weight matrix move to exactly the same position. So they will all be equal. Okay. So obviously this is not good. I have 2 quiz questions for you that I want you to try and answer on your own. So suppose we set the bias to 0 or to constant, but we set the other weights, the W's, to some random quantities. Do we still have the problems that I presented here or not? Okay, so just by what I explained here, you should already be able to answer this question. And another quiz question is, if we initialize all the weights to be constant, so this is where we are, what will happen to W1? So what will happen to the first matrix over here? Will it also move the same or not? Okay, so something to think about. And to answer this, you might also need to freshen up your memory about the backpropagation algorithm and the videos that I made about that. Okay, so this is what not to do. What do you do? So what was done in the past and is still used also today is that you generate small random numbers either from a uniform distribution or a normal distribution, usually with a mean around 0, and these are the weights that you set in the neural network. A common heuristic that is used is that you want to set the variance of W to be proportional to 1 over n, where n is the number of previous inputs. Okay, so for example, if it's a uniform, you want it to be somewhat like this. Why? Because if you take the variance, it's just this minus this. So it's this squared and divide by 12. This is equal to this, and this is proportional to 1 over n. And the intuition here is that we want to keep the magnitude of all the inputs to the layers to be roughly the same. We don't want that input from a layer with a lot of hidden units will be much bigger than inputs from a layer with fewer hidden units. So if we had a lot of input, we want smaller weights, and if we are adding fewer inputs, we want larger weights. Okay, so if we have a lot, then we want the weights to be relatively small because we are summing up a lot of numbers. But if we only have a small amount, then we can have the weights be a bit bigger. So this is the intuition behind this heuristic, but it turns out you can also improve on this. There are many initialization schemes, and in the next video, I'm going to talk about the 2 most popular ones. So I hope you enjoyed this video and see you in the next one.